Speak loud and speak proud. Good afternoon, everyone. The Public Utility Advisory Board for November 20th, 2025 will be called to order. Christina, will you do roll call, please?
Brad Chance,
Here.
Greg McGee,
Here.
Steve McLucky,
Present.
Terry Martell,
Here.
Michael Talcott,
Here.
Les Boatwright.
Here. Seems so weird to be talking that loud. I hope everybody in here can hear me.
Yes.
All right, we've got two sets of minutes to approve. The minutes of August 21st, 2025 meeting. Anybody have anything?
So moved.
Got a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we got a second. You want to do roll call on this, or can we just, okay, do roll call? Okay.
Brad Chance,
Aye.
Greg McGee,
Yes.
Steve McLucky,
Yes.
Terry Martell,
Yes.
Michael Talcott,
Yes.
Les Boatwright.
Yes. Now we've got the second set of minutes, the September 18th, 2025 meeting. Looking for a motion or changes?
Move we accept.
Got a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Got a second. All right, call roll, please.
Brad Chance,
Aye.
Greg McGee,
Yes.
Steve McLucky,
Aye.
Terry Martell,
Yes.
Michael Talcott,
Yes.
Les Boatwright.
Yes. Both of those have been approved. Now we're down to reports, finance and admin.
Good afternoon, everybody. Okay, we want to flip to the first page for power and light here. I want to focus on percent of actual column here. So total operating revenues was at 32% for the year, which is looking good coming in. Total operating expenses at 29%, so we did exceed our revenue and expenses. We did see a little bit of uptick in supply costs, which I did note last month, as we will continue to see with some of the tariffs. And then coming down to our following page, we'll see our amended budget for capital projects was 51 million. We've utilized 499,000 of that. And as Joe likes me to point out each time, a lot of those are still in the works. That money's been allotted for. And we can see on the following page, we can see all those capital projects that are currently in the works. Before I move on to water and sewer, Joe, is there anything you want to point out on any of those capital projects?
No, just when we talk about increased revenues, you guys all have to remember that we start off our fiscal year with July and August and September, pretty warm months. And then we'll go down into shoulder months and there'll be lower uses of electricity. And when we get to my finance manager's charts, it's pretty, you'll be able to see that. So yeah, that's all I got to point out.
Okay, thank you.
I've got a question for Joe here on this. One of your capital project, Desert Storm switchgear cabinets?
It's not as exciting as it sounds. That's literally just the paint color that they're painted. They're just switchgear cabinets that are put out in the field.
Okay.
But Desert Storm was the color. Yeah.
Okay. Color of the year? Okay, thank you.
Okay, coming down to the first page of water, we can see total operating revenues was at 28%, and we did see total expenses coming a little bit over at 30.61. If we look at the supplies line, we see that's at 50%. We're still seeing those uptick in supply costs, and then total capital operating was also up at 47%. And then following on to the next page, amended amount for the year was at 32 million. Total amounts we've utilized for capital projects was at 2.7 million. And we can see on the following page any water capital projects that are currently in operation.
On the financial page, where you talked about our total operating revenue was at 28%, but total operating expenses at 30, almost 31. How do we get those back in line, or is that just kind of a timing issue?
It's a little bit of a timing issue. I haven't brought this up a few times, but supply costs are just really high right now. And that's kind of where we're seeing the uptake, and some of these expenditures are exceeding the revenue a little bit, but we're hoping as things kind of level out, we'll see that come back more to normal where our revenue is exceeding. It's not too far off, but as I've said, the supply costs have just kind of been through the roof.
Yeah, it's just something to kind of keep an eye on so it doesn't get too out of hand.
Absolutely.
Okay, very good, thank you.
One other thing about supply costs, and we, operating supplies, we tend to pull those early in the year. We do large POs that we expect to get us through the bulk of the year. And then as we go through the year, the actuals kind of catch up with what we encumber early on. So yes, we're seeing an uptick in costs, and that is unfortunately very consistent. However, we are always on the expense side ahead of where we should be early on in the year, and that balances out as we go through actuals because we've encumbered that. So you're seeing it as a whole taken now, but we use it going on through. So the numbers true up and get closer to actuals as we get closer to the end of the fiscal year.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. And then, yep, so we went through, and then anything on capital projects, any questions there for water? And then coming down to sewer, we're at 24% on the year. We had some good charges for services as well as penalties. And our total operating expenses was at around 23%. And then we see kind of the uptick there. The supplies is also high along with capital operating. And then coming down, our amended for capital projects was around 21 million. We've utilized about 1.3 million of that year to date. On the following page, you'll have a listing of those capital projects that are under utilization right now.
Any questions on those?
Thank you.
Good, thank you. Municipal services.
Good afternoon. Just a few updates on some projects. Start off with sanitary on the sanitary side at the Rock Creek wastewater treatment plant. We have finally concluded our primary clarifier rehab project, which is yay. Pretty excited about that. We've been talking about it for years. Also have concluded our blower project that feeds our aeration basin. That's also been completed in the last few weeks. Very close to completing our effluent flow meter project, about 98%. Just a few bugs to work out, but we think right after Thanksgiving we'll be done with that as well. On the Courtney Bend water treatment side, we just started off our $600,000 collector well project, which will pretty much increase our lost capacity that we've lost over the last few years. It's a routine thing. The wells start, kind of closing in and drying up a little bit, and we have to clean them out so we can get the capacity back. So we started that this week, and then 2 weeks from now we'll be starting off our Bella Vista to Rankin Road main replacement project, which will be about a half a mile's worth of water main. So that's where we're at.
Any questions? Thank you. IPL.
So each one of these topics, I'm going to start with the AMI program manager update, and I'm going to ask my deputy to kind of give us a rundown on where we're at with that.
Thank you, Joe. Good afternoon, everyone. So the last time that we spoke, there we go.
Uncomfortably close.
Okay, here we go. The last time that we spoke, we said that we were in somewhat of contract negotiations with the firm that we had awarded to, and we were ironing out terms and conditions. So we successfully done that in partnership with the procurement team and our legal team. So we have a rough unsigned draft or an unsigned draft of a contract, and we're now ready to present to you who we award it to, and then our next steps would be to prepare a council package, present it to council on a first reading, and then go through the process. Internally, we're having some discussions about how we fund the project and the allocation between who's going to fund it between IPL and the other utilities and what that split will be. So we're getting pretty close on figuring that out too. The firm that we're awarding it to is TMG. They're a consulting firm. They've done several implementations of AMI technologies along with other utility-based technologies like integrations with CIS billing systems and what have you. They went through the competitive bidding process that we have through the city. They weren't the lowest cost option, but in terms of what their cost was versus the services and their reputation and their ability to execute this scope and the magnitude of this project, given our unique circumstances of where we're at with manual meter readers and the technology stack that we have. They were the winner, kind of hands down. And so the process was very thorough. It took us a while, but we feel like we've got a good partner. The contract term, the way that they've got it laid out, it'll happen in 3 phases. The first phase will be a planning phase, and this essentially will be, if you can think about it as discovery from all of the utilities, kind of intaking what our current state is, what our technologies are, how our customers are feeling about AMI in general, what sort of education and outreach that we need to provide to the community. And then that in turn will formulate a roadmap. That will be kind of the first deliverable. And the roadmap will be laid out on like a 40-month sort of format. And phase 2 would be talking about the development of an RFP to work with another firm where we would procure the hardware, software, and meter components for the water and the electric side for us to go out and do the installations. So that RFP would then be put out, go through a similar process that we went through to procure this firm. And then we would start to get into the execution of how we lay out the communications infrastructure and then start to get the meters out, get the signal back integrated into our technology systems and how those technology systems integrate with our existing systems so we can execute billing functions and operational functions on both the electric and water side. And then the phase that will take the longest would just be the implementation phase, and that would be ongoing between the 2 firms and the city. There would be a series of updates that we would provide along the way. We would identify milestones and provide updates with it, and that would include the community outreach portions and setting of the meters, doing a pilot program, making sure everything's working right, and then go into a full deployment. So the next step in our process to move ahead, the first part, which is getting the program manager on board, would be preparing the council package after this meeting, taking it to council, and then getting the contract signed and then doing the onboarding. So I'll pause for any questions and, happy to cover any detail, or it's just kind of the high level flyover.
Any questions on that? So are you looking for a recommendation from us then to take to council today, or is that next meeting?
If you felt so moved. I know that that's a very, very high overview, and if you guys wanted a complete presentation and breakdown, we don't have that presentation today because the package really kind of just got finally in the final review for us. So if you felt so moved, that would be great. If you guys felt you needed more information to give that blessing, we understand that as well. But I don't know, we need to get this project going, so I don't know that we would be able to get a presentation to you guys for next month's meeting in time for us to at least start getting like a first reading at council. So I don't know,
Because you'll
we
be
haven't
taking it
looked
to
at-
council pretty quick.
Yeah, this program manager, and I know we've been talking about it for months, it kind of stalled out in kind of the legal back and forth and making sure the terms and conditions were correct. So we'd kind of like to get this project going.
Thoughts from the group? Do you need more information on this? Like he said, a presentation, or can you, I know we've talked about this for several months. Or do we want to go ahead? Does anybody feel like we're ready to go ahead and say, yeah, take it to council with what the work you've been doing?
Personally, I need more information. I would like that, please, before I vote.
Now's the time to talk, folks. Now's the time. What do y'all think? Mr. Tackle would like to have more information, more time to look at it. What do you all think?
But if he can't get it to us by the next meeting, then we're stalling them. I mean, at some point, I think we have to trust that these guys know what they're doing and get it going. my thoughts.
Other thoughts?
My thoughts are if the legal teams have worked it all out, I feel like it's probably pretty good.
I mean, I would like to see more information on the whole process and everything. But like he said, I believe that with the legal teams looking at this, and you all have been working on this pretty diligently to get through, I don't know that us looking at it would change anything on that, because this is still early in the process. This is just to really kick this off. It's not to determine what type of meters they are and all that. This is more just the initial.
Yeah, this is to select a person to help us through that process, right? So the determinations of what meters and
Right.
what that looks like, what a pilot program,
That's
the
later.
time frame, all of that is underneath this huge umbrella to help us get this project started.
Okay, well, I do what the committee says. Does anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion, we approve. I did that wrong. I make a motion that we approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a second. Any discussion on the motion? So a yes vote would be to approve them to go ahead and do the packet to get it ready for council, with the understanding, come back with us with more information.
Absolutely. And I mean, it wouldn't just be a one-time. There's going to be continued updates throughout this whole process of where they are, and there'll be definite engagement with this group and the community in what they're looking for. And that'll help drive the whole project of what's, not only what does the meter do, but what's the back end? What kind of things are we looking to get out of this? What are the customers hoping to gain, right? So there's a lot that this is the very first step in getting us to go down that road to have those discussions.
And just from a time frame perspective, to give some context around how long that would take, is we have allocated 4 months for that inventory of all of those stakeholders to take place. So that's not going to happen in one meeting. It's going to happen across several weeks, several months, and make sure that we have iterations of interviews, so that way we can have a full inventory that will turn into the roadmap. So I think what you all are asking for will happen in that first phase, which would be in the first 4 months of the project.
Okay, Christina, will you call roll, please?
Brad Chance,
Yes.
Greg McGee,
Yes.
Steve McLucky,
Yes.
Terry Martell,
Yes,
Michael Talcott,
No.
Les Boatright.
Yes. So that has been approved. Good luck. Anything else on the AMI project manager project? Joe or Ricky?
No, I think we just wanted to provide a high level that we're ready to move forward, and that we've selected a vendor to help us navigate through this project.
All right, very good.
Thank you.
How about partnerships with Independence Power Partners?
Yeah, so this is a really good discussion topic. Monday night at the last council meeting, we presented Independence Power Partners and who they are and why we have partnered with them, and talking about moving forward with some bonds and the land lease agreement, and moving forward with that. I think you guys hopefully recall that last year we did an option to lease land with UET/Rainbow. So probably the question is, okay, well, what happened with that, and what is Independence Power Partners? So Independence Power Partners consists of 3 companies, and that's Exigent Energy, UET, which is United Energy Trading, and Rainbow Energy. Each one of these groups bring very specific knowledge and skills and years of experience to this project for Independence. So Exigent Energy is over 60 years of combined generation development. They've developed over 6,000 megawatts of generation projects and over $6 billion of capital execution to this date. So they're big developers of power projects, and they help execute those. United Energy Trading is really a gas-heavy company. So they're 25 years of wholesale natural gas marketing experience through all the major U.S. markets. So if I put a natural gas turbine on the ground, I got to get fuel to it. They're the key people to help us not only get the gas, but procure it and do long-term agreements with the fuel. And then Rainbow Energy is a marketing company. They've 30-plus years of wholesale power trading experience. They've been in Southwest Power Pool. They have over 2,000 megawatts of generation under development. So to help us, once the units are installed, help us meet the marketplace requirements of Southwest Power Pool, they're going to be key partners as well. The three of those companies joined together and created Independence Power Partners, and they are going to be the ones to construct, own, and operate these plants for us. And once they get those online and we move forward with those, then we'll be bringing forward purchase power agreements. Whenever we find load, we have the first option to take the load and to meet that with these generation needs. So this is a way for Independence to be able to bring generation projects to Independence without it being on the backs of the ratepayers, right? This is an independent developer. They're the ones taking out the risk. They're the ones taking out the financing. They're the ones that if we don't take the power, they're going to sell it into the market, which is fine, but it just doesn't mean it's not impacting our rates.
Will there be any new transmission lines or any interconnects needed from that
So,
existing plant?
So they have 2 generator interconnects agreements in the Southwest Power Pool queue right now. In February, we're going to find out kind of the first step of if these projects trigger any major transmission upgrades. There's 2 phases to the project. The first phase, right now in the queue, the first phase is about 225 megawatts. It's going to come online in late 2027. And then the phase 2 is by 2030, another 775 megawatts. So this is a total project of about 1,000 megawatts. The first phase is what we're really concentrating on getting through. And then if we can get a large load user to come to our town, then we would be able to have the option to execute that second phase and have an off-taker.
Okay. Interesting concept.
Can I-
Questions? Thoughts?
Yeah, go down there.
Anything? Nope. Down here.
Oh, okay. Just 2 questions. First off, on is this going to be like 2 separate plants, or is it going to be all the same?
So the 2 phases are separate plants at the same location. They're both
Okay.
located at the Blue Valley Power Plant site.
Right.
The first phase is a bunch of smaller, simple cycle combustion turbines, much like the ones we have in the city already. And then phase 2, the bigger plant, would be a new age, new technology combustion turbine followed up. It's combined cycle, so then it would also have a steam turbine on the end and a heat recovery steam generator.
Okay. So are they going to be using the actual physical plant that's currently there and refurbishing that? Or-
No.
Oh, they're tearing that down?
No.
Oh, okay.
Well, we have
Okay.
hundreds and hundreds of acres out there, right? So they're
Right.
going to build on open site land
And just leave the
and,
old-
and leave the old plant alone.
Okay.
So when you say infrastructure, electrical infrastructure, yes, it will hook into our substation that's currently there. And that's why, if you guys remember back in the 2018 Burns and McDonald study, and then we had the Power Engineers siting study, they said that the Blue Valley Power Plant really is the best site to locate new generation because you already have the electrical infrastructure and hookups there. So
Okay.
will it use maybe some of our city water lines that are there for, a small amount of makeup water? Probably. So I don't want to say it won't use it, but as far as the plant proper, the old Blue Valley Power Plant, no, it's not going
Right.
to utilize any of those systems.
Okay. And then my second question is, since we're giving up doing the tax abatements, and I went over I kind of tried to read over the 22 pages that got sent to the council, and I was trying to figure out the whole lease thing, because I'm trying to figure out that for us and for the people watching, like a simple explanation of what is the city, what's the concrete financial benefit for the city?
So we will have immediate access to generating capacity in order to attract any kind of businesses that would demand that kind of load, right? So there's the financial benefit of that without us having to actually go out and bond and build it ourselves. So it's the reduction of risk on the city, but also the availability of power capacity, which I think we've talked a lot about in these meetings, is kind of the key to economic development right now. As far as the lease itself, there's not, the lease proper doesn't have a lot of economic development, a lot of economic advantage to the city, other than at the end of the lease, the option that we can get that plant at the very end, and we will take ownership of those assets, is also a huge part of this.
Okay, so that would mean paying what the value of it is?
To be determined later.
Okay,
To be honest, could be the current value. They could say we've gotten everything we need out of it and sell it to us for $10. We don't know. That's a later negotiation down the
Right.
road.
okay.
But it gives us the option to own those assets down the road, and own our own plant.
So right now, the only economic benefit right up front is the hope that we attract the business. Is that right? That's what I'm trying to find out, because
No.
and that's fine if you can explain that, because
I don't know.
I
Can you say
have
it any
people
Yeah.
talk like, oh,
I'm trying to figure out a better way to say it. It's really,
because I've got people that I hear say, well, gosh, we're just giving it away, just as a comment. And so that's why I'm asking for a simple explanation to the people.
so I guess, and I'm trying to give what away? What are we giving away? The
Just
land?
the whole, kind of like we're letting them use it. I mean, we're giving it to them to use with us, with the hopes that we're going to get.
But we have the first right to all the energy and capacity.
So will we be getting will that come at a discounted rate?
That would be
or-
in the negotiation of a purchase power
Okay.
agreement.
Okay. Okay.
So I guess, let me put it this way. We went out for an RFP for capacity, a year ago,
Mhm.
year or two ago, and we got nothing, right? And right now, if you go out to the capacity market, if we had a large load come and say, I want to come to your city, and I say, okay, well, let me go out to the market and find capacity because we're not going to build it. It's not available, right? We put out an RFP, and I know other major companies have put out RFPs, and it's just not available. So the access and availability to energy and capacity is really a huge key that our city is getting. So when you say giving it away, I don't really, I guess I'm having trouble kind of coordinating or understanding that, because we're getting an opportunity for access to energy and capacity without it being on us as the huge risk takers, and the ratepayers being the one to back that. So that's really, I think it's just a solution for us to have access.
Right. And I'm not saying we're giving it away. I'm saying that's what I hear people here and there saying, because I don't think they have, with all we're doing the tax abatements and all of that, and they don't see a clear, black and white kind of a thing instead of the projection. So that's why I asked for maybe like a simple, like, tell me I'm 5, and explain, why. And I think you did.
Well, and I can give you another comparison. So Able Battery, right, is the battery installation that we've talked about in here that's going north of the power plant. So they're going to be located in Independence. They're going to be a power storage / provider to SPP. They're going to hook into our grid, and we don't get any, as far as IPL, we're not getting any benefit from that. They're not saying you have the first rights to this battery storage energy or anything like that. So that's the benefit, is the accessibility to capacity and energy, which will drive economic development opportunities in this city.
Okay, thanks.
And the only other thing to add is just we're at a time in the utility industry and with the emerging technologies that capacity is in high demand. Right, so that's the other component of it. And without that, you can't attract it because of those are a ton of the inquiries that we're getting. And Joe's first question to me is, do we have the capacity to execute this contract? That's where the asset, analyzing starts. And if you don't have that, then you can't go any deeper.
Right.
And so that's kind of our first next step.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Now we've got the SPP consolidated planning process.
So this is a new, and I've handed out handouts, which I know people can't see online, but the consolidated planning process is really a new way that SPP is trying to look at planning. Right now, they look at kind of transmission and load projects and then generation projects. I think you've heard me talk about the generator interconnect queue. And then there's the transmission. They have long-term integrated transmission planning. And those are kind of looked at in separate bubbles. And the generator interconnect queue 3 years ago would take you 4 to 5 years to get through. And there's several phases. And what was happening is it got clogged up with a lot of projects. And they'd get to phase one and they'd say, okay, well, here's the dollars required for upgrades on the system. And then developers would say, okay, we'll drop that project, and that project out. Well, that resets the whole model, right? So now you got to go recalculate everything again. And how did that impact this transmission line and this one? And then they'd get to phase two and they'd kick out different dollars. Well, this kind of takes a coordinated look between generator projects and transmission projects and puts them together so that they have a more sophisticated model that has quicker returns and a quicker availability to be able to give you answers and understanding of what the costs for your transmission upgrades or those connections are going to be. That's kind of my quick down and dirty of a 2-page report here that kind of goes in depth, hopefully not too much, but just kind of talks about why they're doing it, what they're doing it. So it's an upgraded modeling platform that they're going to use. Obviously, integration of AI tools and things that can help them get you answers a lot quicker, be able to get through. So, it'll lower costs, faster interconnections, and better coordination, really, to talk about it. And SPP is kind of leading the industry on this for regional transmission operators or RTOs. And they might set the model for other RTOs to use in the future on this. So right now it's going through FERC approval. Obviously, FERC is in charge of reliability of the transmission grid on a national scale. So they're really taking a hard look at it if this is going to meet the needs of the industry. So the industry is going through changes that it has not seen before. There are extremely large loads coming on, tons of generation, and a lot of moving parts. And SPP just passed one of the largest integrated transmission plans in its history. I think they finally passed the board about $8 billion worth of transmission upgrades, and those are down in kind of the south, where an area where they're getting a lot of data centers and electricity needs to flow through the big transmission systems. And they're talking about installing, we have 161 lines. There's 345. I think they're talking about putting in 765.
Yeah. They're really
big lines, right? And major costs. But it's going to create a backbone through our country and through the Southwest Power Pool Midwest to be able to flow electricity up and down and keep reliability with these huge loads coming on.
Well, I liked it when you said, in the past it's been they looked at the generation projects, then they looked at transmission. They really go hand in hand.
They do.
Because if you want to build a big generation project, but you can't get it anywhere, then you got to look at a transmission line. Then they start studying that. But doing it together makes a whole lot more sense. Okay.
Yep. Any questions?
Any questions? I appreciate the information on that. Keep us kind of posted as to
Yeah,
where
absolutely.
that's going. Very good.
And then my last item, I will pass off to my finance manager to go over the statistical charts. Her favorite part of this meeting.
That's why she's here.
Good afternoon.
Starting on the first couple of pages with the charts, you will see on our first chart of total kilowatt hours, we did have a dip in usage. That is primarily across your residential and commercial rate classes. Our industrial held steady with last year. You will see that same trend follow your billed revenue throughout the next few pages. There were really no anomalies to report. When you get to your packet, page 25, you'll see our cumulative kilowatt hours are just almost exactly in line for September, and we are about even on our cumulative billed revenue with 2025. So right in line with that. You can see your average maximum and minimum temperatures and humidity on the next page. I apologize, it says July at the top. Just ignore that, it's really all September. So, you know, a lower average, especially compared to 2023 for your temperature, and then you can see your humidity down below. And then I would be happy to answer any questions that you have.
I know we've had some warmer temperatures, especially here in November. And you said we kind of had a dip in the residential and.
So you're seeing here our September, and if you're looking at total kilowatt hours on that kind of first pages of charts, you will see that August was trending a little bit higher than the prior 2 years. And I think if you kind of look at August and September, if you were to balance those out a little bit, you're kind of getting right in line. So a little bit warmer, higher usage in August, and then a little bit bigger dip there in September. We should expect to continue to see that decreasing over the next few months. And then we do keep our monthly average, which is your dotted lines. You can kind of see where each month is trending, and that's taking your average with those three years, or the prior two further out.
Okay. All right. Any questions on the charts? It's good information to have.
Thank
I know
you.
we haven't really looked at it that way before, but it really does help. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. How about interim city manager of all?
All right, update on the municipal commons move. So I actually was on a call walking in here, which caused me to be right on time instead of a little early. That was there is an issue with the glass install on for the customer service area on the first floor. So the first floor, while it was supposed to be turned over to us next week, will probably be a couple weeks behind depending on the lead time for that glass. These guys don't even know that yet, so it's news to everybody at the same time. Surprise. Otherwise, the other 3 floors are actively having people move into them. We were talking at our leadership team meeting earlier today about formalizing communication for when entire floors of City Hall will be vacant. The first floor to probably be 100% vacant will be the 3rd floor, so that would be finance, human resources, city manager's office. All of those people are looking at moving really next week at the latest. So I will personally be bouncing back and forth still, I'm sure, for some time, but 3rd floor will be empty as of probably the end of next week. Municipal Services has been occupying the building for a few months now. Our technology is, for the most part, completely set. Again, the first floor would be the piece that's lagging behind and will continue to do so. Working on the council chamber area that will be directly off of the public entrance, and that will be the latest, the very last piece that's finalized, and we're looking at a probably late February date for that.
One of the things to consider in the new building, I know they were putting an EOC light up on the 3rd floor.
Yes.
The problem is the volunteers that operate the EOC aren't going to have access because IPL's on the floor, IT's on the floor, so you've got limited access. And I don't know if that's been addressed or going to be looked at because they've still got the EOC over at Station 1 that they use.
Sure. Again, that was mostly a monitoring only station, but we would still look at badge access. It's accessible. You just have to have badge to get up there, so making sure people are covered that way.
I know they had looked at putting a radio set up there for their ham operators. And when I talked to them about access, they're kind of going, hadn't thought about that. So that might be something that work with Dante or with Christine, whoever, to see what needs to go in there to make it more beneficial for them to use, or do they just stay over at Station 1 where the EOC is, the main EOC is. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
How about an update on the IPL governance?
So I am working on getting so we had the study session with council, about a month ago, looking at making sure all of those, the requested changes are in the potential charter language. Looking still to have a roundtable with the council on December 1st. So that should be posting very soon to maintain that schedule. That's what we talked about at the study session, and Lauber is anticipating having all the documentation to us to maintain that date. So that should be our next public discussion about those potential charter changes.
Have they talked about when they're looking to put it on the ballot? Is that like August?
So initially, it was supposed to be April. I know there's been some concern in the public just about whether that should or shouldn't go with the council seat elections and things like that. If we're going to have an educational campaign ready to go that quickly. So I'm almost certain that date will shift. I haven't been outright told yet, but there is some interest in looking at August or November instead of April.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you.
Thanks.
Can I quit?
You bet.
I've heard some kind of banter about, are we still at the 9 members or are we starting to look at 7?
We were starting to look at 7. So basically, the thought behind that was probably, I would say, we'll take that hit as staff. I'll take that hit. One of the conversations that's been ongoing with all of our boards and commissions is the ability to staff them. So in a board like this, where you're even further restricting the qualifications and ability for people to even be eligible to be on the board, we think it's going to be very difficult to seat 7 or to seat 9. So that was kind of the reason for the discussion about looking at 7. It is not a foregone conclusion that it's down to 7. I know there's interest on the council in keeping it at 9, and there's also interest in entertaining the move to 7. So that decision has not formally been made.
Okay, because I think the GEO bond had way more, at least 10. The health board has 10. And I think the GEO bond had 21.
So the difference in those
So-
committees is those are short-term windows of time. This is going to be an ongoing committee with years of commitment. And so seating something for a 3-month window is grossly different than I'm on for a 2-year term, a 3-year term, and signing up for that many meetings at designated times. So just a little bit of difference there in those short-term versus long-term commitments.
Well, I think without a doubt, this is probably, if not close, going to be the most important board in the city. And that's why I feel like there needs to be a lot of attention paid to that. And the other question I had was, have they made any move on the what's the word I'm looking for? On the partisan end of it, because they didn't put that in there like they did from Springfield. That's the one I asked you about a while back.
Sure. And so to be clear, we're still having the roundtable on the 1st because none of this language has been formalized.
Okay.
So those council discussions continue to happen. Those are discussions that staff's continuing to take things to council. Again, just discussions behind the scenes. We love the intent of that, and it's similar with the board representation, right? I know the interest in having 9 is to have the greatest representation of all groups as possible. I think the trouble you run into is you can probably seat that first board, but what if somebody's independent? What if somebody's qualified for days, but they're on the wrong side of that line? What if somebody's not declared? The concept is great. I think seating the board as terms start to turn over becomes logistically a huge challenge. So it's just something that we need to consider and not do something just in concept. We actually have to act this out once it's in the charter, right? So we need to make sure we can actually make it function, because to your point, it is a very important board. We want to make sure meetings can actually be had, that we actually can have a quorum and maintain these meetings and get these decisions made. So again, just a lot of things logistically versus conceptually, what can be done.
So 3 words to that is diversity of thought. So that's where.
No, again, we love the concept. And again, that's why I know that was the thought with the 9 members instead of 7, but also just Monday night, another board, again, nothing in the realm of utilities, but the Square board went from 9 members to 7 for the same reason. They've canceled multiple meetings because they can't fill the seats. They can't have, people aren't showing up. So we've had that on some of the oversight committees. That's been kind of a longstanding problem as well. So we're fortunate currently with this board that you are all committed to being here. But I know in my time with the city, we've had PUAB meetings canceled for lack of quorum. So thank you for your commitment to this board. Unfortunately, it's not always been the circumstance.
Okay, thank you. Which leads us into our next item on the agenda that Mr. McLucky brought up a couple of meetings ago, and you've got in the back of your packet a couple of pages on here about what we were just talking about. What's the word I'm looking for? No. It'll come to me in the middle of my night or something. Anyway, so Mr. McLucky had worked on some of this. We've kind of talked about it a little bit, so I'm going to let you open the door and discuss it, and we'll go from there.
Thank you. Yeah, we have talked about it the last couple meetings. There was some discussion about having that Citizen Advisory Council meet with the PUAB. Basically, from what Lisa was talking about, the difficulty in filling boards. So a couple of council members had some concern about that. But this is 7. We're back to 7 members. There's no connection with PUAB. I guess there would be nothing to stop them from appointing a member of this board to that board as well. As far as meeting together, I don't think that would be part of it. So that's the one change. Other than that, this is what we've looked at for 3. This is the 3rd meeting now, and I just want to move that we pass that. If there are questions, I'd love to talk about it. But the idea is to have some citizen advisory to this new governance board if it is passed. This Citizen Advisory Council doesn't have the charter language that PUAB does behind it. It's just that, it's 1 to 7 is what I put on the 2nd page. That is basically from Springfield. This is really modeled after what Springfield does with their committee, with a few modifications. So any questions, or I'd appreciate a vote.
The word I was thinking of was governance.
Oh, that.
Okay. Any thoughts or comments on this Citizens Advisory Council?
Yeah,
Docket?
I like this. This looks good. The only 2 things that I just want to comment on, because I am in favor of this, but again, I want to set the city up for success. And the only 2 questions or whatever comments I had are 6 meetings going to be enough for this a year? Because things sometimes tend to move so fast in the city. Something could be done at the end of 1 month where there's a meeting, and then they meet 2 meetings from then, and this is a board that's supposed to give input to the PUB. So that would be my first comment. Second one, on number 7, I worked for the federal government. And when they're in a job description, when there's all other duties as assigned, that's a pretty broad stroke. And, I think that if you're trying to recruit members, they need to know literally everything that they're signing up for. So there's no There's no gray area, no questions, like these are my duties. And so, but those are my own, again, it's just, I want everything to be set up for success. I don't want to, along with the recruitment and stuff, that could be if things start popping up that weren't what they signed up for, then that could be a problem. So, thanks.
Yeah, I'll just respond briefly. The regular meetings, I think I want to emphasize at least 6 times a year. That's Springfield language. I think the committee could decide to meet every month if they wanted to.
Okay.
And I thought that just give them that flexibility. Go ahead.
Or just say at a minimum of 6 times a year.
Yeah. I will accept that change as an amendment.
Thank you.
Okay. The other, again, this as requested is Springfield. I suspect the request you might get at some point is, could you hold a hearing on this and see what citizens think? I can't picture the council or the board asking, real heavy lifts of a citizen advisory committee. So I'm comfortable leaving that there.
Okay.
I think it's fine. Yeah.
Well, that item says, as requested by the Public Utilities Board and the Director. Council's completely out of it, so
Right.
it's really just those two entities that you're saying. Okay, any other discussion? Comments, questions, concerns? And really, if this passes, just to have it sent to council to kind of let them know what the PUAB's been thinking about their kind of wishes on, bless you, as this structure moves forward. Okay, I'm looking for a motion then.
Well, I'll make the motion. Let's get a second.
What's your motion?
I move that we pass this language for an IPL Citizen Advisory Council as a recommendation for the council.
Okay, is there a second?
I second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion on this? Christina, will you call roll, please?
Brad Chance,
Aye.
Greg McGee,
Yes.
Steve McLucky,
Yes.
Terry Martell,
Yes.
Michael Talcott,
Yes.
Les Boatwright.
Yes. So now, just some logistics on this going forward. Do you fix the language in here to get it to Christina to move the process, or work with her to get it fixed?
When you say fix, you mean
Make the change there, and that other one was okay?
the minimum? I can make that change and send it.
Okay, and then we'll get it sent on that way. Okay. All right. Much bigger packet, I wouldn't be able to find the agenda. Okay, so now we are down to board member comments. Any comments other than what's been said here today? I think as we move forward with this governance structure and to help kind of educate folks, there's been discussions on maybe having the PUAB do some type of a hearing or something with the public to get it out in front of them and to educate them. So that would be something that would happen, after the language has been approved, after the first year, to kind of start getting the conversation, the dialogue going with the public on what this means. So stay tuned for that. Open up. Anybody have any comments? Appreciate everybody being here today. Okay, well, if that's not it, I want everybody to have a very nice Thanksgiving. Spend some time with your families. If you don't like your family, do something else. All right. So with that, on that note, and she told me to speak into the mic, so that did get recorded. We'll go ahead and call this meeting closed, and we'll see you on December 18th.